Thank you, Amy, for doing this.
Oh, not a problem. Just making sure I've got it all set up okay.
Good afternoon, Brian.
Good afternoon, Dennis. How are you?
Pretty good. Is the other half of the team joining us today?
He is. He just got back in his office.
Right, okay. You guys been busy today with accidents?
They've been somewhat busy. I went over to Stoneham with our engine too. They had a house fire today.
Oh,
We were there for, I think it started about 10 o'clock this morning. I just got back a little while ago.
well, you had to tell them you had a meeting to go to, right?
I was happy they let me go. It was cold out.
Oh, Evan just emailed. He's gonna be late, but he's coming. It's caught in a work meeting.
Hi.
Well, if he's gonna be late, we might as well start, so. We'll open this at, I guess, 2 o'clock. Any public participation? I don't see anybody. You have anybody showing up there, Amy?
Nope, just the four of us.
Okay. All right, so we'll turn it over to you, Chief, and hopefully this will be nice and easy like it always is.
All right, well, first and foremost, Chief Sullivan's out on family leave act, as you all know. He's doing great. He'll be returning on his own time frame, hopefully shortly. He put this entire budget together. I've reviewed it as closely as possible. I did submit it to you guys yesterday. Again, we're coming in at $6,467,517, which is an increase of $140,185. Chief Sullivan does a very good job of explaining every category, I think. And if you have any questions, we can go right down through it, Dennis and Amy.
Well, I think the biggest thing that we gotta point out is it doesn't include any negotiated salary increases yet, except your clerical union. That's about the only one that's settled.
Correct, and we were told not even to put in any forecasts. I did ask that question, and I guess the way they handle it normally is that they figure those in, you know, when they have exact numbers. And we are in the middle of negotiations.
Yeah, so that's no problem, as long as, you know, everybody on our board recognizes that. It's similar to other stuff going on, so it's no big
Okay.
problem. But you do have the current steps in the projections, right?
Yeah, so this is based on the step increases that we're going to see this year. You know, we have all kinds of different steps in here, but we also have longevity pay. The longevity is figured out January 1st. The steps are changed ongoingly on the anniversary date of that individual's appointment. So, you know, it's all forecasted within this.
Okay,
You can't get it 100%. There's a formula. I mean, right now, basically, I think we have 31,157 in salary step increases that you know, that we just did the math on everyone that's due an increase. Again, that doesn't show, you know, the CBA agreement that will be put into place at some point. But so we have 31,157 in step increases.
good.
Mhm. holiday pay, educational incentive, there's formulas that are done for those. You know, I've worked with Kevin over the last 2 weeks to get those in line. There's a formula that Chief Sullivan uses. He's used it for years. Again, you can't predict exactly what, you know, the educational incentive is, who's gonna get the degrees and so forth, but it's always come very close, and Kevin and I did work to actually reduce those quite a bit than what we had initially, so.
Okay,
And I was gonna ask about the overtime, regular overtime.
Mhm.
That's just coming about because of having 11 people on a shift.
Yep,
Is that, I meant to go back and look at what last year's was, if, I couldn't remember if that 11 was an increase over last year, if that was in place last year as well.
no, we just went to 11.
Okay,
So that's an increase for sure, but it's all relative, whereas we had a maximum manning of 12, you know, shift power, it was 10, so now it's 11, 13. So, you know, it seems to go up incrementally, about 50,000 each year. You know, and it's, again, you can't determine who's going to be in and out. You have long-term injuries, you have military, you have retirements, you know, we had a multiple alarm fire today in Stoneham 2 hours ago. We send engine 2 out of town, we backfill a company, so that we're full manpower. That happens mutual aid quite a bit. So we do have to maintain that 11-man minimum, though. That was negotiated in, and, you know, again, the chief and I and Steve Mayo feel that that's what we need to protect the town adequately. You know, 11 individuals on duty at all times.
are there any openings right now that you're looking to fill?
No, you know, and for a lot of years, we have not quite been at the maximum. You know, it was 51 or 52, and people were always out on injury. They're always retirements. We couldn't keep up. There's a backlog at the firefighter academy for getting people in, but we just recently hired 2. They're in the Mass State Fire Academy right now. They'll be graduating on the 28th of April, and we will finally be at 55 uniformed firefighters, including fire prevention captain, a deputy chief, and a chief of department. And we are looking forward to that. So right now we're down to.
But they're in the pipeline.
Yeah, they're in the pipeline. And again, even right now, I have 1 individual out with a hand injury. So we're down a minute. It's overtime. We transferred some people to keep the groups equal. So one group's not top heavy, and one group, when every time they work, they don't have to hire. They're not in a hiring situation. Chief Sullivan's out right now. We have another lieutenant that had some surgery. So again, I'm in this position. Acting Deputy Chief Brian Purcell is usually a captain. He's moved up, and so there are costs that come with all that stuff. And you can't project it 100%. And we do have the SAFER grant in place. You know, the town is really benefiting from that. You know, that's 4 firefighters at full salary for a 3-year period, which will end 2/24 on March 3rd. So we still have a ways to go with that. So that is helping defray the cost for now.
is there any talk of anybody else getting CDL licenses, or they just, you know, gonna stay the way they are with the guys that already have them?
Yeah, you know, Dennis, we don't have many. The chief and I try to make projections. When we're putting the budget together, we'll ask anyone, you know, are you in line for a degree? Are you in line to go from an associate's to a bachelor's to a master's? Does anybody have any plans on getting the CDL? So we put all those feelers out. At this time, no, but again, we've hired 9 people inside of 18 months. And that's part of the projection. So, you know, any one of those guys could go out and get it. Any one of those guys, they already have degrees, those new individuals, some of them, and they could go from an associate's to a bachelor's, or, you know, the degree might be in chemical engineering, which wouldn't count, but they'll go to school, you know, for a year and a half or so and transfer into an associate. So those things happen.
All right, if there's no more on, the personal services, you want to go on to contractual.
You know, let's take a look here.
Nothing seemed to really jump out, other than normal increases that are,
No, I mean, we've got a 7, that's the biggest increase. It's 9,400, but it's a 7.72 increase. And again, that's due to the rising cost of different things. See if I can get my paperwork out here. Telephone increase of 2,000. There's some reporting software that's in the telephone increase. The auto repair increase is, again, they're minimal. It's $3,000 to address the rising cost of vehicle repairs. We did negotiate a new radio contract where it went up 4,000. It was 8, it went up to 12. But that includes the preventive maintenance. It's built right into the cost of the contract, whereas before, you know, we had to pay for radio repair and PMs and such, so that's built into it. And there's an advertising cost of $400 because our PR firm increased their fee $400. I will tell you this, you know, with my head in the budget over the last month or so, with the chief out every day, you know, we're out of fuel money. We're out, and I have, you know, 5 months to go, $2,000 in that account. We're on track to spend 39,000. We were allocated 30. And there are other things as I closely reviewed this budget where, you know, we're really pushing it. Repairs is the other one. We're close, and we've got a ways to go. And that's what I see. You know, we're really towing the line. So we're really trying to come in, you know, level funded and increase in 9,400. We're going to be out of fuel money at any time. But I feel like talking to Joe Conway and to Kevin, that all the other departments are in the same boat. The prices fluctuate so much.
so is the thinking, if you run over, the town will probably just, through Steve, come in with one general.
That's my family. Yeah, that's what I thought. And, you know, and it's easier to justify because it's easy to look at the tax, at the prices at the tax, and the diesel is just, it's all up, you know. And we're running more. You know, we went from, you know, we had a 9% increase in runs. You know that. You took a look at it. We had, you know, 4,387 runs last year, up quite a bit. We've already almost done 700 in the first 2 months. So that's going to continue to go up, especially with all the buildings that put up. We're just going to keep going.
Okay,
Any idea how many people you might have to add as this new construction finishes and is populated?
You know, Amy, that's a great question. We've talked about it. The chief and I brought it up to Administrator Mayo. And Steve understands, he sees the vision, he sees the growth, obviously. It's tough to say, you know, they've talked about a third station. A lot of our runs come in the Audubon Road area. I mean, we're going to have to add personnel or engine companies at some point because, you know, we can't keep up with it. We run all day long. And we have simultaneous runs. Incidents. I use the word runs. More and more. Engine 1 will go on the west side. The ladder truck will be going to Audubon Road area. You know, it's happening more and more. The ambulance service is very busy. I mean, we respond on every run. You know, we definitely have to look at creative ways to manage the town's emergencies and responses. It's getting tougher and tougher. You know, we have the equipment. I know Dennis has touched on this in the past, you know, to reach the height of the buildings and all that. That's not the issue. It's spreading ourselves too thin and the volume.
Will mutual aid become more of a factor if we don't address those problems in the long term?
Well, I think, the system of mutual aid is in place. Again, like today. Stoneham doesn't have to call us. If there's a second alarm, we're already rolling. Same with Melrose and Reading, but yeah, you'll use it more. And, we use it, we give it, we receive it. Certainly, they might be cities and towns that aren't as well staffed as us, and maybe they needed more. The word abuse doesn't ever come into it. I don't see that happens. But if we have simultaneous runs, absolutely, mutual aid is going to be prevalent. We have to call in, other cities and towns, even if it's ambulance services to come in and pick the slack up, because we've got to get there. Let's face it, within 2-3 minutes.
Okay, 'cause I see up here an awful lot more on 128. I guess the North Avenue backup is quite prevalent for rear-ended, because I always see you running up here.
Yeah, you've got a good view. I will say that, sir. When I dropped the budget off, I asked you got a real good view of that new construction project too. And you can see some of the buildings that we're up against. That, we get all these plans in our office and we go through them with a fine tooth comb. We see everything before it gets to the Ben's division over in building. And you never know what they look like till they're quite up. And I will tell you, the 450 that are coming to the head of the lake is going to be something. So you talk about 128. So you already can't get to Home Depot and to Honeydew, right? We're up there 3 or 4 or 5 times a week at Kyrex on each side now. And that's not even talking about the highway. Yeah, the highway, believe it or not, is also the most dangerous place that we operate. Because we operate there much more frequently than we do at fires. And everybody knows about the electrical vehicle fire we had, about a month ago. But we're up there all the time. It's dangerous practice because the ladder truck goes, the engine goes, the command car goes, and usually the ambulance is up there. So engine 2 is the only one that stays back. And we have to utilize the ladder truck and engine 1 for blocking purposes. So it's very busy on the highway, and it's only going to get busier with more people moving into town as the infrastructure grows. Absolutely.
Well, that's what I worry about, the traffic signals down at North Ave getting off. Once that's fully developed up there,
Yeah.
those signals aren't going to be adequate for the backup on that lane to get off on the North Ave.
Yeah, they're going to have to get very creative. We've had multiple meetings with the construction team on safety during construction, scrutinized very closely with Chief Scory and Lieutenant Anderson and Deputy Calabrese on, vehicles coming in, especially from the Lowell Street side, tractor trailers,
Yep.
all the traffic we're going to have. The foot traffic, I told the developers, they're going to be amazed when they see the thousands of people that walk along the lake with baby carriages and, a lot of work to be done. And it's just safety all the way around, all of it.
So as far as the third station thought, it'd probably be towards the head of the lake, so you could go to both places, shooting down Lowell Street, or to get to Audubon, or
All on the stone.
Sorry.
All
Excuse me. So there have been plans designed by Chief David Parr. Even before that, Chief Sullivan has seen them. I've seen them. There's a vacant lot next to the Forest Glade Cemetery on Wall Street.
Sure.
And you've probably heard this before, Dennis. That's where they would like to put it. In my head, my mind, there are other areas, but the town has to own the property. And Audubon Road to me and the highway in that section, it's a 6-minute run to Audubon Road. Doesn't seem like it. The command car gets there in 3. But the companies, you can time it every day. 6 minutes. The west side, people talk about, we get there, we get up there. But I'm worried more about the highways and that Audubon Road area. And there's not a lot of spots to put a third station. you know, whether you run an additional engine out of headquarters or, I'm not quite sure. There is some property that the light department has that I always likes down adjacent to Walton down there. It's a storage area. I
Yeah,
like that an awful lot. That's obviously theirs, but it's a great spot, you know. But yeah, that's something that's gonna have to be visited at some point down the line. I mean, I may not be around, but it's growing really quickly and it's a concern. We're running a lot.
Maybe happen.
well, you want to go on to materials and supplies, even though that's even lower, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have motor vehicle parts. Again, it's an increase of 3,000. The total increase for materials and supplies is 4,000. Motor vehicle parts increased to 3,000, obviously, because they're harder to get and they've increased. Medical supplies, there's a decrease here at 3,000. The chief says we've got some state and federal aid still coming in for some of these, which helps. Well, here we are at the fuel and oil increase of 4,000. We talked about that.
Right.
And then we've level funded the uniform protective gear, which I was actually looking at the other day, and you know, one set of turnout gear is 3,700, just the pants and the coat. That's not even the helmets, the boots, the gloves, the hoods, face piece. And we need 2 sets. You have to have a backup set. You know, and I've got guys come out of the academy. They've got 1 set. Guys just came out. I need 2 more. That goes up quickly. We're okay with where we're funded with that. My concern are the vehicle parts and the fuel. You know, we don't know where the fuel is going to go. Let's hope it comes down. You know, our apparatus is in decent shape, but we had to pour quite a bit of money into engine 4 and recently engine 5 to keep them where they are.
I see you were talking about on capital outlay, putting in for another engine, at least to get it in the chain.
Yeah, the chief, you know, he wants to stay on, you know, the 15-year plan. Again, it used to be 16, 18 months for delivery, and now it's double that. So if it gets into the chain, you know, we'll see it 2.5 years from now. I mean, I believe we forecasted before 2030. Really, we need, you know, 2 more pumps on a ladder truck. If you purchase in the same cycle. And if you don't, you know, preemptively and proactively strike, then, you know, you're just going to get behind, further and further behind and pour more money into the reserve pieces, which we maintain really well. But once you go beyond the life of these things, you're pushing it.
But that's part of the big quandary about a third station that you immediately need equipment, and
Yeah.
you're in the main headquarters is gone, you know, so.
Yeah, it's a huge jump. You know, you've got to build the station. You need, you know, 3 people times 4, 12 new firefighters, lieutenants, an engine. You know, that's where maybe an ambulance might come in to talk someday, where you could get a basic life support in there. And you know, there's creative ways to do things where the town can now generate money. You know, and there's creative ways to do things. You just have to put your heads together to get it done.
Good. Amy, you have anything, or just jump in? I don't-
Yeah, I don't know if I had anything else. I mean, the write-up is so thorough. It answers a lot of questions as you go through.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real problems here, other than I wish we had a settled contract. That's the
Yeah.
big number change is gonna be that. The rest of it is nickel dime as far as I'm concerned, except when you see capital outlay, another engine. But what else you have in capital outlay, chief, that maybe that we'll see later?
We have replacement of the lockers, the gear lockers in Greenwood, which is about 13,000 and change. I mean, they're 25+ years old, maybe, they look like the junior high lockers from when we were all kids. I mean, they just don't do the job. I went down and met with a local vendor, and chief put that into capital, and we put in for 55 coats. The guys wear the bunker gear everywhere. It's big, it's heavy, and it's been shown to cause cancer. There's a lot of material out there now. We don't want to cross-contaminate. We all have two sets of gear. Group that just got back from the fire 2 hours ago, their stuff's already in. They're in their backup gear, but this is a lightweight coat for everybody on duty. They can wear medicals. It's not as cumbersome. I did include it in the federal grant, so we may get it that way. But those are the only 3 items in capital. There are some things out there, but when you put an engine in, I mean, we do need a few other things down the road. We put in for a compressor, the air fill station and another grant, an AFG grant as well. Fingers crossed on that. That's about 130 grand. Again, after almost 21 years, it's failing, and we really need that. So we try to get money where we can with the grants as actively as we can.
Okay.
Our boat's 43 years old, Dennis. I can tell you that. That didn't go in.
Well, it's not as big as it used to be.
It floats.
The boats on Quantico, especially the police boat, used to be a pretty good sized boat.
I remember it.
So,
I
but
remember it.
the Officer Melanson in it way back then. But, so there is, thank God, no real calls for lake problems right now on ice. So,
No, we train with the ice rescue. We're out there. You're right. The weather's cooperated. We still go out. And, we do it every year. We've got the Avon boat, the rubber boat for Crystal. So we're very familiar with both of them. Hopefully we don't have to get out on either anytime soon. We don't want that to happen.
if you go to larger increases, are we gonna need something beyond car 6?
I feel that, the command vehicles, and I've spoken to Joe Conway about this. We need the command posts need to be a little bit bigger. We drive, the chief, myself, fire prevention. We drive the version of the police, the interceptors. They're a little smaller. We have to take them home. They don't fit in your garage if you go to the full-size Tahoe, which is what the shift commander in-house drives, the captain. But I feel like we need an additional Tahoe. Car 6 serves its purpose. I can see down the line maybe getting a larger version of that, an updated version, where it may have some, Scott packs on it. It's an all-encompassing rescue. We can get into talking about the massive fires that we suffered, this summer. With some brush capabilities, a lot of these vehicles, there's a small pump and a hose reel on it, and it's more like a rescue vehicle.
Right.
I could see that, but again, talking about $300,000-400,000, versus a $60,000 pickup truck, but that might be an answer too when you expand your force as well.
Right. No, because I'm concerned seeing that, and instead of sending the ladder up on 128, that I call a rescue vehicle, would be ideal to be sent up there, because at least it can have some of the support gear that the ladder currently maintains.
Yeah, I mean, again, we entertain all ideas. We have to send that truck up there, honestly, for blocking purposes, which we have a whole matrix where we stagger the vehicles, but you might not have to send an engine if you can send something smaller. And that's thinking outside the box, which is what we have to do all the time. we haven't had brush fires in a long time, but when we get them, we run rampant.
Right. Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Well, I guess we haven't still tied up.
Right, you
Must
got
be.
anything? No?
Oh. You're not as tired right now, right? Nice seeing the two brothers together though.
Appreciate it.
So, Robert, I'm all set, Amy. I want to just, make a motion to close and I'll write up some minutes and get them off to you guys.
Okay. I will move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
All right, really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for taking the time with myself and the deputy, and I want to thank Chief Sullivan as well too for he really works at this, putting this together, and I'm learning under him, specifically the last month and a half on what it takes to get into the bowels of this thing, and he really does a fantastic job of spelling it out for you guys, which Amy said. So again, thanks so much, and again, any questions, feel free to call me at any time. Thank you.
Okay.
right.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.